Yeah. They told me I wouldn't be nothing.
Top of the top, tapping in, Mental Madness. This week's episode, I'm coming at y'all a little different. Had some dialogue, phone conversation with a special guest, my brother Dame. I just hope y'all appreciate this. This episode 3. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Don't forget, smash the subscribe button, like, comment, share with your friends, share with your brothers. This is a platform in specific addressing the mental issues that us as men deal with, the things we have to face on a day-to-day. This is the purpose of this platform. Anybody have any ideas, any questions? Mental Madness, nwk@gmail.com. This is episode 3. I appreciate all of you following. I appreciate all the subscribers, all who pay attention and look at the videos. It doesn't go unseen. We appreciate you all. Hit that email. You got anything you want us to discuss? Let us know. Mental Madness, episode 3. This episode is titled Focus. And my brother and I are talking about the things that we feel as though, as men, that we should be focused on. And we break it down into age categories as well. So, hope y'all appreciate it. Tap in. Enjoy. Was saying was that I don't believe that I agree with you to a degree. I understand the concept of what you're saying, that you feel like you need somebody to match your energy to kind of like stabilize. But what I'm saying is, as far as focus, is people really make wanting to be compatible with somebody their whole life.
Like, yeah, but see that's the difference. You know what I mean? And that's where the spiritual side comes into play. You know, like when I say like complete the energy, I don't just mean like balance me out. I mean like their experiences from life, combined with my experiences from life, make us do really good together. Such as like me and my wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, historically, like, you know, I've had different relationships and things of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I met her when I was like 13, turning 14.
Mm-hmm.
And since that day, there's been nobody else that can compete with how I feel when I'm with her.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So, like, and then from her experiences of life, she's more of a happier person
mm-hmm.
by nature, whereas I'm more of a dark person.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So, like, in that regard to, like, balancing the energy, what happens is I may be getting ready to go through with an action, and she may say, hey, is that the best thing to do?
See, but I get
Right.
that. I get that from that perspective. But what I'm saying is, as far as focus, how can I give you an example? Like, even when you met her, before you met her, you probably knew what you wanted to do with your life, right? You knew this was your aspirations
No,
and your visions and your
absolutely
dreams.
not.
No?
Absolutely not.
See, that's different.
13, bro.
That's different because at 13, I was already having dreams about what I would be and so on and so forth. That's my experience.
I mean, I had thoughts of what I wanted to be, but I didn't know anything.
I mean, we don't really know for
everything that I wanted to be is nothing that I want to be. Let's say that.
Okay.
Really.
You don't got to divulge, but I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But see, for me,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I understand wholeheartedly. You know, I understand what you're saying, fool. Yeah. But for me, my mentality, even though I was in that environment, my mentality, my outlook on life and the dreams and visions that God was giving me was the total opposite. So the things I aspired to be was different than my environment. You know, I grew up, you know how I grew up, gang bang in the hood, so on and so forth. But that was never the visions and dreams that I had about my life in the end. I always had visions of me being wealthy and being able to have an impact. So that's what I aspire to be. And those was my aspirations before I met, you know, before I dealt with anybody. You understand what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I agree with you to that point. Like I want
That's the perspective that I'm coming from.
But here's the thing. Being only exposed to certain things.
I agree.
And having friends, having not necessarily friends, because I don't believe in having friends, you're either family or you're not. But having close relationships with other people that have different experiences from myself. Yeah, counterparts. Having relationships with those people that had different experiences from myself. It was a process for me that I had to learn to be able to challenge my own thoughts in order to focus on what was really important or what I really wanted to do. Like I said, everything that I wanted to do when I was younger, I had no idea that I'd be in the situation where I am now. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying I'm in the best situation, you know, but my situation is better than my situation ever has been. Let's say that.
Got you.
So yeah, when I talk about like that balance, that's where that balance comes from. Is because I think without those experiences or without being able to step outside of the realm that I grew up in, and that's what commonly like in our community, you know, and especially here, like in Portsmouth, I met people in Portsmouth, Virginia that ain't never left Portsmouth, or ain't never left, you know, the Seven Cities area, which is my area of Virginia. 40-something years old. How can that be?
I agree, because I got homies down Hyatt that ain't never really left growing up. They never even left past Penn Station, bro. So I agree 1,000%. Exposure does lead to expansion. And I'm never questioning those principles and those realities because I always had these conversations with people. We as a people, we haven't had really too many examples like in our close proximity. Prime example, and I just was having this in golf conversation before we got on. You know my life. You know the shit I was into. But what makes me so different, bro? Only thing that makes me different than my other counterparts that was doing the same things I was doing is that I wanted to change. I wanted it a little more than everybody else.
Absolutely.
I didn't make excuses. I didn't make excuses as to, oh, this is my environment. This is all I was exposed to. Because, I mean, I grew up in the projects. I was exposed to violence every day. I partook in the shit. Yeah. But it came a time where I said, yo, you know what? This shit ain't matching the dreams and visions that I've had, so I got to figure something out. And wasn't nobody there to hold my hand. You came along and during the transition and you was in my life and you encouraged it. But prior to that, like I shared with you, who the fuck held my hand and showed me how? Nobody. I had to make the choice to say, you know what? Fuck that. I got to figure this shit out.
And you did the best thing for you.
Nah, for sure.
You did the best thing that would work out in your favor. And I say that because everybody's path is going to be different.
For sure.
Nobody's going to have the same identical path. But your path leads you to your gift. You know what I'm saying? Your path leads you to your calling. You can have you can be on the same path for many, many years and keep repeating the same bullshit and wondering why this stuff keeps happening to you. Or you can make different decisions.
That's all I ever said.
Different outcomes.
Exactly. You got your decision making has to change. Because I'm not saying that everybody, like you said, we don't have the same path and upbringing. But a light has to go off at some time to say, yo, this shit ain't working. I got to try something else.
But some people, unfortunately, in our community are scared to step outside of that.
I agree. Fear keeps a lot of niggas in jail. Mental prison.
And yeah, exactly. They imprison themselves before they even physically get prison.
Exactly. I swear, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, because it's like... Go ahead.
But having that courage to step outside of that comfort zone is not something that we're taught. Just like we're not taught about finances and bettering ourselves.
Shit, we ain't even taught how to be husbands, to be clear. And a lot of women ain't taught how to be wives, if you want to be honest.
No, bro, we're not taught how to be men.
At all.
We're not taught how to be. We're not taught how to be men, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're taught how to survive.
I agree. I literally just said that shit, bro. We're taught more how to survive than we're taught how to coexist with another person.
Yeah,
you know that, right?
Everything that's happened absolutely, because of what's happened in the previous generations. When it comes to us, our parents want to give us everything that they can give us, but the best thing that they can give us is how to survive, right? And as times change and things kind of change, in the world globally, right? Certain things start to come a little bit more to light and more into fruition. But one thing is the common denominator is every generation of ours has had to teach each other how to survive.
Nah, for sure. For sure. In our culture, at least. For sure.
Yeah. Every generation. That's crazy. From as far as you can go back, slavery, etc., to now, the common theme has been, this is what you need to do to survive.
Yeah, it's never been, this is what you need to do to procreate or cultivate or none of that shit. Is just straight survival. And that's what I'm saying. I just think that, as black men or as black people, our focus is really crazy. I don't know if you really divulge in social media. I mean, I post and promote the program, the episodes, but all I do for the most part is just watch the people I follow, bro. And it's like everybody is more adamant about a companion than they are about figuring out who they are. Because like you said, we wasn't taught how to be men. And, this platform is particularly to talk about men. We wasn't taught how to be men. We wasn't taught how to be responsible. We was taught how to survive, like you said.
I think a lot of men and women right now seek companionship to fill in for things that they might be missing.
I agree, because I'm one of them. I'm a product of that. I agree.
Not necessarily. I think that you know what you want, but your decisions that you make along the way get you closer to that perfect one. And I think some other people, like somebody, I remember a female told me this a long time ago. She said, "I want to have kids within the next 3 or 4 years." Mm-hmm. Right? That was like one of the first conversations that we had. Mm-hmm. How do you put that pressure on somebody to dedicate that time between the next 3 or 4 years to have a child with you when you just met?
No, I agree. That's
you don't even know if you want to have a child with that person.
You don't even know if you want to be with that motherfucker forever.
Yeah. Now that is an important part of the conversation. It's like, hey, do you want to have kids, et cetera, et cetera. I get that part, but in 3 or 4 years of a relationship, your relationship gets tested in so many different ways.
Oh, you ain't got to tell me. Look at me.
Only maturity will teach you that, though.
Nah,
so you think about it when it comes to your journey. It's like, all right, well, I'm learning, I'm progressing. You ain't got no bad blood out there. Mm-hmm. Everything is good. Everything is love.
Absolutely,
it's just a part of growth, and that's the part that a lot of people are scared of. People are scared of growth, and they're scared of making mistakes that they can't come back from.
No, I agree, and that's sad, though. And I even want to take it to a different perspective of when you said that that's a lot of pressure to put on a person and what their likes and dislikes are. I'm going to pick your brain on this. I personally, through my observations, believe that most humans don't really even know what their likes and dislikes are, because a lot of us, you're a smart guy, so you're going to understand where I'm coming from. From a psychological perspective, we've been ingrained with so much tradition that clouts our perspective as far as to what we should accept in life, what we should tolerate in life, and even to the degree of knowing what our likes and dislikes are. Because
absolutely,
just because that tradition may have worked for my mom or my dad, I may not like that shit personally. I might just been tolerating it because I had to, because that's the household I grew up in.
Yeah.
And it's subconscious.
I don't know if you remember this conversation. I had this conversation a long time with you when I first moved to Georgia. And it was pretty much the same exact thing. But like, people are products of other people's belief.
For sure.
Most people find so much comfort in what they've been taught that they're too scared to step out and venture into what they believe for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, we did have this conversation because I don't
stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't believe in traditional. I don't believe in traditional religion.
Yeah.
You're right. We did have this conversation. You was like, bro, you formed your own perspective on your own research. Yeah, because I can't go off of what nobody else tell me. You crazy as hell. You could be wrong. Like what?
But that's all part of the journey, though.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But it's that bravery that somebody has or possesses that allows them to be able to just step out there and say, hey, I don't have the answers, but I'll figure it out as I go.
I swear.
Versus somebody that says, hey, I just need to make it until next week.
Nah.
I need to make it until next week.
Yo, for real, because I be asking my bro, my man Q, and I say to him all the time, like, hey, bro, like, you don't ever question your foundation, bro? Like, what's your focus? Oh, I think we should go about life this way, that way, and the third. And I'm like, bro, you still implementing traditions from 1875. That shit ain't working, man. He be like, yo, what you mean? Because even focus is for me. I just think that our priorities sometimes the lines get blurred, bro. And Absolutely. I understand what you're saying because, example, my mom to a degree, and I've shared with you, my mom is not really an affectionate woman. So because I've lacked that growing up, I understand. I desire that in a significant other. So like you said, we go through life looking for those qualities that we feel like we lacked. And then when we find them, sometimes, and most times, when you, like you said, it comes with maturity. Sometimes I always tell people the devil know what the fuck you like too.
Absolutely.
And sometimes
I found.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You found what? Now I want to hear you. What you say? You found what?
I found comfort in the people that I saw or experienced. Let me back up. Prior to me going into the military, I was a knucklehead by choice. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? I didn't have those same things like you said. My father was there, mm-hmm. and he instilled a lot in me. But there were a lot of things that he did that I just did not understand at that age. So I rebelled just like anybody else.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
My rebellion caused me to see things that I probably shouldn't have seen or did things that I shouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily a wild person, but, I am me.
You could be a little wild Negro. Just like I can. You said that shit to me before. Like, just because you gave your life to the Lord don't mean those killer instincts go away. Remember that conversation?
Well, but let me say this in my T.I. voice. I rise to the occasion of any situation.
Nah, facts.
So whatever that situation dictates, that's how I come.
Yeah, as you should. As you should.
And going into the military, I experienced different things and I got around different people that weren't from where I was from. Mm-hmm. And my first big culture shock was calling somebody, like in Virginia, we got a saying, right? We got a slang when it's like a homie or something like that. You call them stick man, mm-hmm. right? So, I'm going to the military. I'm in South Carolina. I'm calling people stick man. They looking at me like, what? What are you talking about? Right? Mm-hmm. And one dude grew up kind of like I grew up. He thought I was saying like I'm about to stick him up. So it was a little learning curve right there because it's like, nah, B, what are you talking about? So once I saw that and I'm like, hold on, so this is different. Mm-hmm. And it was like being in a time machine going down south at that time because the fashion was a little bit behind in that area. I ain't gonna say all of the South. I'm just saying in that particular area. So then I fast forward and I start to see that these people that don't necessarily know me are kind of like drifting to certain personality pieces that I possess, mm-hmm. and that gave me a different sense of confidence. But had I not stepped outside of my area where people didn't know me,
you wouldn't have.
I probably wouldn't have gotten that because the people that know you may overlook the smallest qualities that make you great.
Wow, that's a mouthful because I be feeling like that internally, bro. Like I feel like my visions in particular could benefit everybody around me. But like you said, because they don't see it or they overlook it, they don't understand it or it don't come into fruition.
Some people are used to the old canon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When things get a little bit too new for them, oh man, I remember when you used to.
I swear. That should be so annoying, bro.
Memory lane is one of those like dangerous roads to drive down.
Very much so.
Because memory lane holds a lot of pain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can get jacked at any time strolling down memory lane.
I swear.
Right?
Absolutely.
So like that one little piece for me is what gave me what I needed to see that I was different. And then when it comes to the focus, I think that a large part of that journey is how people perceive God. And I'm not a religious person, but you and I have had this conversation, but I have this conversation here. We're recording, right?
Yeah.
Rolling?
Absolutely.
All right. So for me, I consider myself to be more of a spiritual person. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people would say spiritual. What is spiritual? Right? Mm-hmm. Spiritual in the sense that I believe in God. I believe in the afterlife. I believe in all types of things. I see things on my own, right? Mm-hmm. Won't divulge into too much of that. Mm-hmm. But I have reasons to believe what I believe. Mm-hmm. I've almost been sniped 4 times. I've almost been blown up 3 times. Mm-hmm. So there's a different sense of like how I feel about my life. I've had situations all the way to when I was a child where I literally should have been dead, but for whatever reason, I usually came out with maybe a few broken bones or a couple of scratches, nothing too big, major, anything else, right? Mm-hmm. I believe in God, but I don't choose to. It's like almost non-denominational in a sense.
I'm on that type of time too, though.
Yeah. I believe that God takes on many, many names, but it depends on the culture. Mm-hmm. Now, had I not gone around these cultures, had I not gone to the places that I've been, I probably would have still been enclosed in that little box. So when it comes to focus, I think that experience, whether it's focusing on schoolwork, whether it's focusing on family, whether it's focusing on being a better person, I think that experience is the biggest factor that's missing in the Black community because we're pushed to try to keep our head down, stay quiet, silence is strong, don't complain, don't do this, don't do that.
Oh, especially Black men. Be more specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in our coaching in general.
Facts.
Coaching in the Black community, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Like you have people out here that are different, that aren't from our community, but support the agenda and in my belief, talent is talent. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely.
Everybody believes that. It's not my job to combat somebody that doesn't believe that. But if I see somebody that resembles me and I can save them from the pain that they had on their journey, I would rather go ahead and contribute. Whereas a lot of people in our community might turn their head because it's none of their business.
Yeah, they that shit in what they say, it ain't their front doorstep. That's what that be about. And I'm the same way. Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like as far as focus, like you said, experience is the foundation, and it has a lot to do with the influences. Like a lot of adults per se, their focus, in my opinion, from my experience, from the limited male counterparts that I have, a lot of them struggle with focus because they don't realize. Like I'm gonna give an example. When you watch a commercial on TV or they run ads on the internet, Instagram, all these websites, what do you think that the motive for that is? It's to influence you to go buy whatever they're trying to sell, right? Mm-hmm. So what makes us think that other things can't have that same level of influence on us because we're a certain age? I don't believe that to be true. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't have people that go spend money on things they don't need because they saw it on an advertisement.
Oh man, I'm going to make this interesting. Everything around you is an average.
Hell yeah, you making my case. I don't disagree with you.
Every single thing you see, you look
It
at,
fucks with your focus, bro.
hear.
It fucks with your focus.
Not only that, but I think that a lot of people aren't taught how to focus or how to identify those things. I didn't learn those things until I went through the military and I started getting like college courses where I could kind of understand and learn a little bit more about psychology and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. No knock on anybody that does a college education, but I feel like I should be able to pick and choose which classes I want to divulge into, versus going to a whole curriculum where it's like maybe 5 or 6 classes in that curriculum that have nothing to do with your path. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was what college was for me. I take this class, I take this class, I take this class, I take this class, and I just wanted to have that understanding. Psychologically, colors, letters, pictures, everything, especially in the United States of America, everything is utilized to influence your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Everything from sun up to sundown, whether it's the radio station, the TV shows, your favorite celebrity, even last night what happened.
Yeah, bro, that's all I'm seeing on social media. That shit is a little bit annoying because in reality, we really don't even, if it wasn't staged, what they trying to say that it is, or was, if it wasn't, we don't really know what Will is going through psychologically though, bro. All the shit he just been through with the infidelity, and who's to say that we know what that man is dealing with emotionally?
Listen, man, that was a product of pressure. That was a product of pressure. Anybody else can say whatever they wanted to say. That was a product of pressure.
You think Jada put pressure on him?
Nah, he put pressure on himself. I watched the man go from smiling to walking on the stage and smacking somebody.
Give me an example. Give me some insight into
what. From smiling and laughing to going on the stage and smacking somebody. That's the pressure that he put on himself. Listen to the things that he said in the most recent years. He had a few interviews where he talked about he couldn't compare to Tupac, and that was one of the things that he was always kind of
insecurity. It sounded like to me.
Yeah, he had that insecurity, and then in his book, I was listening to.
I'm actually finishing it up now. I got 15 minutes left.
Okay, well, in his book, Charlamagne was saying that Will was talking about in his life he felt like a coward.
Oh yeah, he did. He said that he hid behind being an entertainer in his music because of that. He never felt adequate enough. He did say that.
You see? So, this August Alsina thing, that whole thing, I think that was one of those things that pushed him over. Mm-hmm. But the last thing was Jada pouring her heart out about having like alopecia or something. I think that's what it's called. And, not being able to consistently grow her hair. I think that once he processed that, he was like, oh shit, I got to do something. And,
sure.
it was unfortunately, it was at that time. Unfortunately for us, well, not for us, but for him. But, if I analyze everything, and when I analyze it, I go back to a lot of those shows are struggling for ratings. Not just struggling for ratings, but they're struggling for support from, the black and brown community. Mm-hmm. And this ain't nothing to do with racism, but when you look at the genre and controlling music, those are the two that bring in the most, like in the fastest pace.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? These kids blowing up off of YouTube and everything else, and start selling out concerts.
For sure.
Like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it could be a completely genuine story, but in the time where we have, the first Black Supreme Court judge being what's her the cross examinations or whatever they call them, when she's being completely like disrespected, derailed, and everything else the prior day, and now you have this that distracts from the rest of the proceedings.
Absolutely.
So it's like,
Absolutely.
it's like you have to pick and choose what you want to focus on, and most people go with the most entertaining thing.
And in America, that's what they do. Be specific, because you know in them other countries, they don't give a fuck about none of this entertainment shit.
No. Don't get it wrong. Our culture is influencing other places.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Same exact way.
You're right. At this point.
Yeah.
At this point,
because what they know of America and what they know of hip hop and what they know of urban culture is they don't give a fuck. They da. When it's completely the opposite. We do care. We do want to grow. We do want to have certain things. We do want to, but it's a long time of wrong values that we have to correct in order to march in that direction.
Absolutely.
So when you say focus, that's why I was like, oh yeah, I'm on it. When you say focus, that should be the curve, right? Each one teach one.
Absolutely. We've been saying this forever, as long as we've been in each other's lives.
Yeah. Like what you don't know, you give me for free.
Absolutely.
What I don't know, I give you for free.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It don't always have to be that way, especially if it's your profession and that's what you do for a profession.
Mm-hmm.
All right? People got to pay for your time.
No, for sure.
But there shouldn't just be rappers and basketball players doing charitable things in the community.
I agree 1,000%.
Because that sends the wrong message, and it misguides the focus.
Absolutely.
The focus goes from being that smart entrepreneur or that next scientist to, hey, I'm gonna get this quick jump shot. I'm gonna get me a couple of million, and yada yada yada.
I'm trying to teach your nephews that now that they focus. I understand it. Like I tell Rico all the time, you about to graduate, bro. You'll be 18 in July. You're a senior in high school. 30,000 people enter the NFL draft every offseason, and only 249 is drafted. It's been 2 years since you stepped on the football field due to COVID. You haven't been in shape. You haven't been training. You haven't been devoted. So what makes you even think you're going to fall into that 3% that's going to get drafted? When those other 3% probably been no days off, whether it was football season or not, they've been training and ready for this moment. You just been laid back chilling. Why not take this time, because you know that you may be fighting the tide, a heavy tide that's against you. I'm not trying to discourage you, but the strongest muscle in our body is our brain. But in our culture, we don't even want to exercise that muscle the most. We feel like looking physically fit is what makes us strong. I think, you ever heard of, what's bro name? Reginald Lewis. You ever heard of him? You got to read this book, bro. Watch the White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald Lewis, man. He was one of the first black American billionaires outside of, Mansa Musa in those historical times. He was one of the first that was acquiring other businesses and things like that. Master P kind of modeled his whole blueprint after old boy. That's how I found out about him. Older cat, old enough to be our pops, maybe even our grandpops. But he was one of
what you did was what you did right there was something beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, we don't have the privilege that a lot of other cultures have in knowing what the history was or the things that came before us. Right?
Mm-hmm. Those
things are in books. Those things are in other places. Sometimes you really, really, really got to search for it. But, in other cultures, they can just look up history. And it might be fabricated. It might be fabricated.
Everything in today's world is subject to being fabricated, though.
Oh, man, everything is fabricated. If I'm being real with you, there's not too many things that they tell you honestly about what happened and what events, because it's to influence. How do they gain support? How do they do this? How do they do that? It's a greedy product of power.
Absolutely.
It's a greedy product of power. So, when people think they know the truth, you never really know the truth unless you're there.
No, that's for sure.
You know what I mean?
That's for sure.
But when it comes to our history, though, a lot of our history is washed away. Let's say for instance, Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Lincoln described himself as, I think he said brown skin or dark skin with coarse hair, and it was something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this like, well, I ain't even know what that's a conspiracy. I'm gonna keep
You teaching me something because I never even heard that before. But go ahead.
So, if you look at the coins, there's only one person that's looking the opposite way.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln.
Everybody else faces in the same. Yeah, everybody else faces in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one person that doesn't have an American flag on the back of their coin.
Abraham Lincoln.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a lot of times you hear like, first black president, first da-da-da-da-da. But the facts don't support that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no knock or blow at anybody else. You know what I mean? Everybody has their greatness. I'm just saying, when it comes to facts, when it comes to like understanding and learning, we don't necessarily have that as vast and openly because it doesn't always support what direction other people want to go in.
You don't think we have that capability now in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things are being uncovered. Yeah, a lot of things are being uncovered. But you know what my point is people are so used to being told what to believe
versus going to find out for their damn self.
Versus finding out for themselves. So just like, you know, when we had that conversation about religion, right? Mm-hmm. And granted, I listened to everything you said. You listened to everything I said. For those that don't necessarily know how, you know, our dialogues go, we can have some heated ass dialogue.
Nah, for sure.
Get off the phone for the day, and then we come right back on some "I love you," and we talking right back again, and it might get heated again.
Nah, facts.
We gonna get off. We gonna and that conversation right there was like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks
for straight
going back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was us going back and forth about, you know, your version of God and what I believe as God. Neither wrong.
Absolutely.
But I just don't believe that a culture can accurately depict what God was if God is being depicted as that particular culture. Like if it's a culture from the Middle East saying, hey, this is what God was, cool. But if this book right here is telling me that God is completely the opposite appearance of what you're saying, or completely the opposite person is what you're saying, then that can kind of deter me from wanting to believe what you believe. Right? Mm-hmm. I think that in our community, we have a lot of rebels that will say, you know, hey, you know, speak their piece about what they learn. But I shouldn't even say rebels. We should have a lot of intellectual individuals,
absolutely, that
will share their learnings and share, you know, what they have seen and heard over the years. And then you have some that just cringe to what they were taught generation by generation by generation. Like you said earlier, that stuff can become outdated.
Absolutely.
Right?
For sure.
As technology comes, we start to find out more because technology, you know, allows us to be able to do more.
Absolutely.
I'm really going on the left here. But like, you know, when you speak of technology, you know, in Egypt, they were doing brain surgeries and creating prosthetic limbs and stuff like that. So now you want me to go all the way back and think that people were banging rocks together to make fire and eating just bloody flesh without, you know, having any kind of intelligence behind it?
I think human beings were far too more sophisticated than to be doing that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly my point. Exactly my point.
Even in those times when things wasn't the same as it is now, I don't know if I believe that either. But
no, man, like it's just not fathomable. And those are the things that got me in trouble growing up, and got me discouraged from wanting to be able to learn the things that are taught in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
That was at that point where I just took on that mentality that, all right, I just got to survive.
For sure.
You see what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I took you all the way around just to show you, like, from where I am to where I was, yeah, I had the same things, but I recognized, all right, these people not playing fair.
No, for sure. I mean, I knew that for a while. Like, even down to, to rewind back to what we were saying as far as culture. Like, even if you look at the culture difference, bro, like, prime example, my cousin just moved back here from Africa, from Ghana. He lived over there for 13 years. His father's from there, born and raised.
Right.
And he just like, bro, like, it's different in Africa, bro. Black people don't be trying to hurt each other. They see you fighting on the streets, they trying to break it up. Like, what are you going to do? Kill each other? Chill. While over here in America, we'll put a gun in another black man's hand and go kill another black man with no remorse or no thought about it.
Now, I ain't going to say it's like that everywhere, Africa. Everywhere got its hood.
Oh, yeah, not for sure.
To that degree, every time I went to Africa, it was nothing but love. And I'm saying...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For the majority, everybody has his hood, but he was just saying for overall, it's not as violent or as aggressive as America. It's certain areas that is, but he hasn't experienced that in Ghana, much more so.
I think that we just call our violence something different.
They more corrupt. I done heard them stories too.
No, bro. They no different than us. It's just how the story is told.
Gotcha.
Right? We got genocide here. We got corrupt politics here.
Mm-hmm.
We got people that line themselves in a position of power and never step down. We got all of that here.
Oh, for sure.
We just painted a different way.
No, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Like our genocide, they'll say like, they keep putting in like slavery. Slavery was a form of like racism and genocide and everything else. I get that part, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the mentality that was caused from it continues because it never ended. It was just called something different.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Am I going too far left?
Nah, you on point.
So like all of these influences, it impacts a person's ability to focus if they're not taught or if they're not privileged to being around something that would encourage that. Whether it's a different type of experience.
I'm trying to figure out what it was that encouraged me to be different, bro. I'm still trying to figure that shit out to this day. I honestly tell people that I knew I was different as a kid, but I just didn't know how to exploit it or develop it, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying?
Bro, real life. My wife, right? Had I not been with her as a kid, I would have been doing way other things. Far more drastic. You get what I'm saying?
Why? Because she was from a different environment and gave you a different perspective?
Not only that, but it forced me to so my wife and my nephew,
mm-hmm.
right? It forced me to have a different view because I realized my actions hurt more than just me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hurt the people that you love, there should be some type of emotional impact for it.
I don't like that shit. I'm going to be honest. That shit hurt me.
Bro, exactly. That's the first time that I felt that type of pain is when I let them down.
I totally could relate to that.
And you know, like my wife, right now, I'll tell her, I don't know how many times, anytime that thought crosses my mind, I'll tell her, like, I'm sorry for everything that I ever did to you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because being in a place of maturity, you can look at some of your actions and you can say, you know, that was real fucking stupid. I'm
in that space now, and I be trying to tell, like you said, they be wanting to bring it back to the old kind of like, yo, I fell short. I know why I fell short at. It was dumb as hell for me to make that choice. I apologize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that shit ain't always received well.
Nah, it's not. And when it comes to that, like, actions have to show. You know what I mean? I'm not saying anything is perfect by far. But what I am saying is when your actions align with your words, it's more believable.
See, now this is the $1 million question that I got for you, because you know that I'm more action driven. I don't necessarily always. I'll tell you when I'm wrong, but I don't really like divulge into what I'm going to do to change it. I show you, and even in times where I've shown people my actions supported my words, it's still questioned. Why?
Sometimes it can be an insecurity of that person, bro.
You think so?
It doesn't necessarily always have to be you.
What do you mean by in that case? How does insecurity apply? I'm curious.
So even though you straightened up and corrected your situation, right? And this is one thing that I'm big on, right? I want to be able to know about people's prior experiences, because I can't necessarily make up for what somebody else did to you.
For sure.
I can show you who I am and show you how I'm different. But in a lot of times, people that we experience may resemble something that we encountered that may have set us back, may have traumatized us in a way, right? Gave us that post-traumatic stress type of thing.
Absolutely.
When you resemble something that somebody else is uncomfortable with, it brings forth a form of distrust. And they may not necessarily always show up for it. It may be one of those things where they want to try to talk themselves out of it. And they just can't get around to it. So like, that you can change 1,000,001 things about you, but until you change the one thing that person is hitting on, it's kind of it's kind of like a no,
Nah, for sure.
So it's kind of like a no. Like you have to know what that person is holding on to.
You're right.
Now, if it's a thought that hey, you just may not correct the behavior, then that's something different. Time will show that. If it's something,
you said corrective. You said corrective behavior.
Yeah, like if it's something where you need to correct the behavior. Let's say you're a married man and you go out and party all the time and you don't necessarily spend time with the family, or this, that, or the other. That can bring a form of distrust, because it's like, hey, what about us? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you can say, all right, well, I ain't going to do that no more. And she might say, hey, well, all right. But the minute you start to go out, maybe, let's say you go out back-to-back 2 weekends because two of your boys have birthday parties or whatever the case may be. If it's recent, it's going to look like you lapsed the behavior.
You're right.
Right? Which from the outside looking in creates a form of distrust, because it's like you're doing the same thing all over again.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I mean when I say like the behavior. Oh, we got Memphis and Golden State, man. That's what I mean when I say like the lapse in the behavior, because your behavior supports your true desires, your true wants.
Absolutely, I agree.
Right?
1,000%.
So it's like your actions. I can tell you 1,000,001 things, right? Let's say like I use this as perfect differential. So the other night I missed our time to record, right? So instead of me reaching out and saying, hey, I'll be available this time, I reached out and said, what? Whenever you're
ready, just let me know and I'll make time. For sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now, had I not showed you that I was invested, you probably would have thought the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Because your actions wouldn't have led me to believe that you was. But then that see, I get what you're saying. I wouldn't have thought that because I know you. But if you, I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point. If it was anybody else, they would have assumed that for sure. I could see how.
But we don't get taught to communicate our actions like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So bringing it back to the subject, when it comes to a focus, it's like how do you effectively relay something that you don't know how to communicate?
Yeah, that's the thing that, yeah, you're right. I mean, damn.
You get what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, I do.
Like we're not taught how to effectively communicate. We're taught how to drive to work. We're taught how to add up numbers. We're taught how to subtract numbers. We're taught how to multiply numbers. We're taught how to clock in. We're taught how to meet certain standards. We're not taught how to exceed those standards. We're not taught how to be part of the top 1%, top 5%. We're not taught how to be those things. We're taught how to stay in line, right?
Yep.
Now, when you learn those traits, when you learn that effective communication, when you learn the other things, when you get a taste of what success might look like for you,
I'm addicted, nigga.
Changes.
I ain't even gonna hold
That
you.
focus changes.
You heard me? I'm addicted.
You get what I'm saying? But these are all of the things that I say, like, this is what impacts the focus in our community, because it's a train of thought.
No,
for
sure.
Really what it boils down to, right? It's a train of thought, and it's an emotional journey that we're taught not to really go down, because we got to be strong and solid. we got to keep things to ourselves. We got to stay. We got to try to blend in and not stick out.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. It all goes back to, bro. It's somebody got to break the mold, though. Somebody got to break the cycle. And I've always
it's this generation.
Huh?
As much shit as people talk about, it's this generation. As much shit as people talk about this generation right here is the most rebellious generation that has come in a long time.
Yeah. Shit, because I mean, we living in this generation. We didn't grow up in it, but I agree, because I'm one of the rebels. Shit, I'm rebelling against.
We're part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Because
we contribute.
Yeah, for sure, because it's like
our contribution just looks different because we already had that journey.
You're right. You're
right.
Yeah, you're right.
So our participation in it is doing exactly what we're talking about right now, and is educating and teaching people through the experience, whether it be experiences of gangbanger, or whether it be experiences of hustling, or whatever it is. Like, we so many different ways people have, like, been told, get background noise, I gotta get this done out. So many people have been taught.
Your phone, your phone breaking up.
Hold on a second.
That's because you probably moved away from it.
Yeah. I was saying, hang on 1 second. I'm trying to get this thing out real quick. So many people have taught, like, different ways or different means. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, that's my wife. So many people have been taught, like, different ways that. Let me back up. Critical part of, like, understanding how to focus is understanding your learning style.
I think understanding is the most critical part of life itself. The key word is understanding, but go ahead.
Yeah, understanding is, but being able to identify why you learn differently from other people, or being able to understand what drives you versus, other situations. And I'll put it into play. So my sister, straight genius all the way through school, A's and everything else, right? For me, I had to learn differently, and I didn't really understand that, right? So I was called, things that a kid shouldn't be called growing up, simply because I didn't process things the way that she did. Now you fast forward to now, the way that I process things, I'm quite proud of, right? But I felt inferior, so I performed inferior because at that point I just, for lack of better words, I just didn't feel like I could compete in that sense. I didn't feel like I wanted to compete. Right? Yeah. So again, I did what I had to do to get by, because in a way I was discouraged.
I totally understand. I can relate to that.
Now, I didn't have any, to your point, I didn't have anybody that could have this conversation with me and say, yo, this is what it is. Don't be discouraged. Keep pushing. Right? I didn't have that. That's one of those journeys, and that's one of the things that we're on here telling people.
Absolutely.
And educating.
Absolutely.
It's, hey, regardless of what your experiences are, you have to be able to learn from each other. You have to be able to learn from other people's mistakes. You can't just learn from yours. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time that you just can't get back.
I swear, time is the most precious commodity. I tell people that all the time. You should be wise enough to learn from somebody else's mistakes versus having to consistently go down the path that you know ain't going to get you the results you want. And that's why I wanted to categorize this episode as focus, because I just from my observations, you're right. This is the most rebellious generation. But the limited, not saying limited exposure, but the limited people that I may have had in my circle over the years, and the limited people that I see that I follow on social media, it would make me assume that a lot of our focuses aren't in the right place. Because even having conversations with my other male contemporaries, like I get kind of like, they do it like jokingly, but I think it's probably some nonsense behind it. People like kind of joke at me because I read a lot, bro. People like, oh, you a nerd? You like the most gangster nerd I know, and I'm like, huh? Like, yo,
you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
Like some people will be discouraged from that, Ken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody at a younger age is out here reading probably one of the best things about his life that he could ever read. And because somebody is calling him a nerd or saying that, they shouldn't do this or they shouldn't do that, that person completely drops everything to try to fit whatever that other person's image is.
No, for sure. For sure. I think that's, honestly, like you said, I think that's a lot of people, though. I think that's how most people live their lives. And that goes back to what I said when I said that I don't really think most people know who they are because they're trying to live their life based on what they was told and what other people, like you said, what other people's expectations or projections of them are.
Yeah, they're a product of someone else's belief.
Yeah, that's what you said in a nutshell. I couldn't quite put my put my 2 cents around it.
That's as simple as it is, though. Whether it's religion, whether it's their core principles, whether it's how they prioritize things, they're a product of someone else's belief.
For sure.
And they'll never be great until they're a product of their own belief.
And now that you say it like that, I think that was my breakthrough. I think that I had to learn that I'm bigger than what everyone or what my environment is projecting that I should be.
Absolutely.
It took for me to realize that it's more to life, and it's fucked up it's fucked up that I, not that I look at it like this because it's a reality. It's fucked up that these are our circumstances. We are a product of somebody's beliefs. I agree with that 1,000%. But a lot of people that we become products of their beliefs, they were products of somebody else's belief that all stem from a broken ass system or a broken tradition. That makes sense?
Very true. Very true. But that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of those beliefs and stuff, that's where they come from.
Yeah.
They come from those broken traditions. They come from forced traditions. They come from all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger part of it is being able to identify, like in the younger children. Let's say this, like for me, I struggle with a lot of things when it comes to temperament, in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my way of experiencing that and understanding what I'm doing is when I see it on the faces of other people, or sometimes when I have the ability to just sit back and think about what I'm doing. It creates a different type of impact. When you talk about like experiences, had I have not encountered certain things that challenge my principles, I wouldn't have never. If I did change, it would have taken a way longer time. Let's say that.
Hey, you said if I did. See, and I agree. And I just was having this conversation earlier. You're right, though. You're right. It has to be something that's going to disrupt that frequency in life to make you want to do things differently. Because if you just, like you said, you're going to constantly be a product of someone else's perception of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of takes, like, I don't know, like divine intervention, I guess, for you to have an encounter to realize that you allow people to put you in a box, and then you wonder why you can't fully spread your wings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I say this thing, and I don't know how true this is, but good kind of like example. But I say this thing where a scientist put a bunch of fleas in a jar,
Mm-hmm.
right, and left them there for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fleas, after removed from the jar, now keep in mind a flea can jump, I think it's 48 inches,
Mm-hmm.
48 inches up. After being removed from the jar, they no longer jump any higher than the jar, the lid of the jar,
Mm-hmm.
even while they were out. And, you know, the example that they gave was what happens with these fleas is because when they teach their offspring how to do certain things, their offspring naturally will either stay at their performance or the same area of performance as their parents. And then you will have the few that will exceed that. But most of them are going to go based on the same limitations that their parents set for them.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
I mean, you ain't got to tell me. I believe that that's really what takes place in life, to be honest.
Yeah.
You ain't got to say that. I already know what you're getting at, because you're right. It's almost like the apple don't fall too far from the tree. And that's why I try to encourage, you know, people to try to like focus and look at things from a different perspective, because like you said, forced tradition, forced beliefs, a system forced on us for a lot of us to believe that and I just said this earlier, in different cultures, you've traveled the world, I've traveled, different cultures, they move a lot differently than our culture, bro. Like,
absolutely, man.
The stuff that they focus on is not the shit that we focusing on. And that's why there's a wealth difference. It's a wealth gap between the black culture and other cultures, Indians, Jewish culture. That's why the wealth gap is the way it is, because they cultivate their kids to focus on particular things that we don't focus on. I'm going to be transparent. And I use my cousin that came from Africa as an example. I'm going to use him as an example. Well, not came from Africa, but that was living there, because he's from America. I don't want people to get it misconstrued. But I said, yo, you know, because our fathers are different. You know, most African people are very different than black Americans. And I'm like, yo, you know, he just had his first kid at 37. My son about to be 18. So that lets you know that he waited until he was established to do that. But that's because those are the things that his father showed him and taught him. Versus my dad, he told me at 13, 14, this is how you treat women. You find them, you fuck them, you fool them, and you forget them. That's a big difference, bro. That's a big fucking difference to be teaching your kid, bro.
But that's what I'm saying, though. You as a child don't know any better.
Yeah, you're going off of what somebody telling you.
But when you hurt that one that's not supposed to be hurt, oh man, that's life changing.
Yeah.
That's life changing.
Your father ever taught you some shit like that?
Nah, man. My dad always told me how nasty I was, man. There was a time that me and my wife weren't together when I was in the military, and my dad always used to tell me, like, one day you're gonna regret everything that you do. And I like no lie, like once me and my wife got back together, it was like I a lot of things that I had did just to kind of cope, or just doing things just because, straight regretted them. Now, that was me being young and wild, yeah. But in the same token, you know, I think that's how you know, like, how somebody helps you focus is when you want to have those experiences with one person versus having experiences with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different type of focus right there.
Not for sure.
You know what I mean?
For certain.
Yeah.
I just think
now my pops, the lessons that he taught me was more so work ethic, things of that nature. You know, survival, but different type of survival. You know, my dad was an Army Ranger, so my survival looked different from a lot of other people's. I was doing handstand push-ups when I was like 5 years old, 20, 30 handstand push-ups against the wall and stuff. So, yeah.
But that level of discipline, that helped you though.
I was rebellious to that for a long time.
But that shit still helps you as an adult. I'm pretty sure some of your level of discipline do come from that infrastructure.
Now, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like now, the end result is it's beneficial to us now.
I'm a scarred adult now.
I think we all is at this fucking point. I think all of us is at this fucking point.
I'm a flawed adult now. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I think we all is at this point. Shit. The shit we've been taught was kind of inhumane.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like every generation teaches the next generation the best thing that they think they have, right? In most cases and situations, you have some parents that ain't shit, like literally.
Nah, for sure.
But for the parents that do try, they teach what they feel is gonna help their kids get ahead, and they teach based on their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got parents out there that don't have too much experience, and they push their child to gain those experiences, which is also smart too, man.
Mm-hmm. Because
that's a different type of contribution. But you have people that don't necessarily recognize that their parents don't have those experiences, and they kind of compare their family to someone else's family, or they compare their parents to somebody else's parents, et cetera, et cetera. Can't do that, but you don't understand that at a child's age. You understand that more so as an adult.
Nah, for certain. For certain. I guess it's more so, I just want to encourage people to prioritize. And I don't think, like you said, everybody's journey is different. I don't think that there's a set way per se for everybody to follow, like a unwaverable or unmovable blueprint. I just believe that in our culture, from my recent observations, is that a lot of people, I just think as a man, we should have our shit together first before we go out here and try to create a life with somebody else.
Well, it depends on what your journey takes you.
Say that again?
It depends on where your journey takes you.
What you mean? Give me an example.
Had I have not had my kids, I think that my decisions would have been lagging behind.
See, let me reiterate that. I'm going to say young men. I don't mean like men like our age. I'm talking about like for the younger generations. Like let's say like 18 through 21. I don't think that. What do you think an 18 to 21 year old's focus should be? What would you want? What would you want your boys' focus to be at 18?
Their first million.
You see what I'm saying? But culturally, that ain't what the fuck we thinking about. How often do you be on social media, Dave?
I actually had something the other day happen where I said I need to draw back from social media. I really don't like. I don't like people.
Me neither, but I look at that shit and I just be like, yo, that shit be kind of depressing sometimes, bro, because it's like
it sounds funny, man, but you know what? People constantly disappoint.
Oh nah, hey bro, I swear I should just screenshot some of the text messages, and I wish you could have been a fly on the wall earlier. That's where my trust issues come from, because I've been let down by so many motherfuckers. It's like you said, it's disappointing, bro. Like that's why I seclude myself and I stay like in this cocoon, because you try to give a motherfucker the benefit of the doubt, whether it's a friend or a possible companion, and they do some bullshit, man.
But check this out, Ken. Just like we said earlier, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of the behavior, though.
Nah, for sure.
That's part of the behavior. And what our kids see is our kids see the same behavior and they emulate it. And I never knew how powerful that was until I had kids and I started seeing them do small things that I did, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be out of anger or whether it just be me just sitting down chilling. Even my 1-year-old, mm-hmm. I watch her sit back and analyze us and start to mimic the things that we do. Mm-hmm. How powerful is that?
For sure. For certain.
So it's just the same thing, you know. Not to say right or wrong, but that's one of the things that we was calling out earlier. It's like, all right, well, how do we move forward? Like me, I got trust issues. I know that already.
You and me both.
That's beyond just having a conversation and saying, "Oh, I'm better."
Nah, hell no. You gonna need consistency. You gonna need somebody to show you. I'm the same way. That's why I'm actions driven. I hear what a motherfucker tell me, but hey, buddy, you better be willing to stand on your words.
Hey, you know what I learned? I learned how to trust people as much as they show me their work trust.
Shit, you gotta show me. You gotta show me how to do that.
I learned that people should only be trusted for what they've proven that they can be trusted for. For
sure. I agree with that because I ain't going to catch a body with certain niggas. I'm not doing that. But go ahead.
Hey, look, check this out. You can be a pathological liar, right? Mm-hmm. But if I know that if it comes down to pressure, you're solid, I'm gonna put you in a pressure situation every time.
Yeah, because you know he ain't gonna crack.
Because I know that's when the product will be at its best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
His product of work, when I know that that's where his product will be best, that's the situation that I'm going to put you in. Now, if I know somebody needs a lot of concentration, gets distracted a lot, I'm not going to put them in a situation where they can be distracted if I need their performance to be at its best.
For sure. For sure. I agree 1,000%. So what would you want to, what advice, we about to close out, what advice would you want to give to the listeners as far as focus? What would you encourage other black men to focus on at whatever stage they are in their life? Let's start out with the youngest. From the age of 18 through, let's say, 23, what would you encourage that age group to focus on?
I think that what I would encourage them to do is find out more about themselves and their learning style. I think at the age of 18 to 21, if you mastered your learning style and understood how you process things, I think that would set you on a path to success more rapidly.
Mm-hmm. And what about the older brothers in our age group that feel like, man, you know what? It may be hard, or they still trying to figure it out, or shit. They may even be stubborn and feel like they got it all together, and when they really don't, because ain't nobody perfect. But you know, we all can grow. What would be the same thing? What would be the encouragement that you would leave for them?
I would say that for somebody in my age bracket, I would say that it's no longer about proving anything to anyone else. It's about proving it to yourself.
For sure. That's powerful.
I would say to commit 100% to your success and lose sleep over it if you can.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Real talk. Lose sleep over it.
For sure.
Have those nights where you can't sleep because you got to figure it out.
I'll be having plenty of those fucking nights.
And look, and then the last thing I would say, regardless of your religion or what you may call it, I would tell you to trust God.
Absolutely.
And talk to him.
For sure.
Talk to him or her.
For sure.
Him or her, whatever. I don't know what the agenda of God is, nor do I care. God is God.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think God got agenda, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's a spirit being. I think God is a spiritual being that we don't really know too much about.
Yeah, you got my vote.
I appreciate your time, bro. As always, I love you, and we definitely gonna get you on here again.
Man, I love you too, bro.
And chop it up so we can encourage these brothers, man. Get a family my love.
Anytime, man.
And till next time, bro.
All right, brother. Peace. Thanks for having me again.
No problem.
They told me I wouldn't be nothing, but a statistic. Better in prison, look how I'm living. Never been perfect.